Can I ask you something personal? Have you ever walked into a room and suddenly forgotten why you went there? Or maybe, for just a second, your hand or your arm felt weak and you brushed it off as just getting older. I want you to pause with me here, because in my 30 years as a neurologist, I've seen how often these little moments are ignored. And yet, they can be the first whispers of your brain asking for help. A stroke does not announce itself politely. It arrives suddenly, cutting off the blood and oxygen that your brain needs every single second. Think of it like a city losing power. One streetlight goes dark, then a block, then the whole neighborhood. That's how fast your brain cells can fade when blood flow is blocked. But here's the hope I want you to hold on to. More than 80% of strokes can be prevented. That is not just a theory. It comes from the American Heart Association and was reported in the New York Times, which means prevention is not only possible, it is powerful. And this is where your daily life matters. The choices you make at breakfast, the steps you take after dinner, the way you sleep at night, these small habits are not small at all. They are the shield protecting your brain before it ever needs saving. So let me ask you, have you ever felt one of those fleeting moments when your body gave you a signal and you weren't sure what it meant? Share your experience in the comments below. Your story might be the encouragement someone else needs today. And if what I say resonates with you, please subscribe and ring the bell so together we can protect your brain, your memories, and your future. Number 1, what happens during a stroke? When we talk about stroke, we're not just talking about a medical term. We are talking about a crisis inside your brain, the very place that holds your memories, your personality, and your independence. A stroke happens when blood can't reach part of the brain. Without blood, there is no oxygen. Without oxygen, brain cells begin to die. And they don't die slowly. They begin to disappear within minutes. Imagine a garden in summer heat. If the water hose is cut off, the flowers wither almost immediately. That's what your brain goes through in those moments. There are 2 main types of stroke. The first is called ischemic stroke. This is when a clot blocks the blood flow, like a traffic jam on the freeway. About 87% of strokes are ischemic, according to the Centers for Disease Control and Prevention. The second is a hemorrhagic stroke, when a blood vessel bursts inside the brain. That is less common, but often more severe. Many people make the mistake of thinking early symptoms, such as dizziness, tingling, or sudden weakness, are just signs of aging. I've had patients tell me, "Doctor, I thought I just got up too fast," or "I figured it was my arthritis acting up." But in reality, these could be the brain's urgent cry for help. Here's the truth. Your brain is like the command center of your body. If one part of that command center loses power, the entire system struggles. That's why stroke can affect speech, movement, memory, even vision, depending on which area of the brain is attacked. So I want to ask you, have you ever brushed off dizziness or numbness, telling yourself it's nothing serious? If so, you're not alone. But this is exactly why we need to pay attention. Leave me a comment below if you've ever had one of those moments. Sharing your story might save another life. Number 2, the FAST test in hidden warning signs. One of the most powerful tools we have for recognizing a stroke early is something so simple that you can remember it in just 4 letters. FAST stands for face. Look at the person's smile. Has one side of the mouth drooped? Even a subtle change can mean that the muscles on that side are not receiving signals from the brain. A stands for arms. Ask the person to raise both arms. Can they lift them evenly, or does one arm drift downward? Weakness in a single arm is one of the most common early signs of stroke. S stands for speech. Listen carefully. Is the speech slurred, strange, or hard to understand? Sometimes a stroke makes it impossible for the brain to form or process words, even though the person is trying. T stands for time. Time lost is brain lost. Every single minute during a stroke can mean millions of brain cells gone. That is why calling 911 immediately is critical. But I want you to know that stroke does not always follow the classic script. There are hidden warning signs that many people miss. A sudden loss of vision in one or both eyes. A severe headache that feels like nothing you have ever experienced before. trouble swallowing or unexplained nausea and vomiting, sudden dizziness, loss of balance, or falling without reason. Here is where so many of my patients made a dangerous mistake. They waited. They thought, let me lie down and rest. Maybe it will pass. But stroke symptoms, even if they last for only a few minutes, can signal what we call a transient ischemic attack, a mini stroke. And a mini stroke is often the warning shot before a much larger one. So I want to ask you directly, have you ever had a sudden headache, dizziness, or vision problem and told yourself it's nothing? Please share your story in the comments. Your words might be the reason someone else takes action when it matters most. Remember, recognizing the signs quickly is not just medical knowledge. It is a life-saving habit. And practicing the FAST test could be the difference between recovery and a lifetime of disability. Number 3, why every minute counts. When a stroke begins, the clock starts ticking, and it does not tick slowly, it roars. Every minute that blood flow is blocked, your brain loses an estimated 1.9 million cells, according to the National Institute of Neurological Disorders and Stroke. Think about that. In just 10 minutes, nearly 20 million brain cells may be gone. That is why time is not just important, it is everything. I've seen 2 very different patients illustrate this truth. One man arrived at the hospital within 30 minutes of his first symptoms. Because his family recognized the signs and called 911 right away, we were able to give him clot-busting medication. He walked out of the hospital 2 days later with only minor weakness in his hand. Another patient waited. She felt dizzy, her arm felt heavy, but she told herself, I'll sleep it off. By the time her daughter found her the next morning, it was too late for those early treatments. She survived, but she never regained the ability to speak clearly or walk on her own. This is the cruel difference that minutes can make. And yet, so many people still hesitate. They wonder, am I overreacting? What if it's nothing? But let me be clear, it is far safer to go to the hospital and find out it was not a stroke than to wait at home and lose the chance of recovery forever. Think of a stroke like a house fire. If you smell smoke, you don't wait to see if the flames go out on their own. You call the fire department immediately. Your brain deserves that same urgency. So I want to ask you, if you or someone you love showed sudden signs of stroke, would you call 911 right away? Or would you wait, hoping it would pass? Please be honest and share your answer in the comments. Your reflection could help others face this decision with courage. Remember, when it comes to stroke, the phrase time is brain is not just a saying, it is a scientific fact. Acting fast can be the line between independence and lifelong disability, between recovery and tragedy. Number 4, risk factors you cannot change. When it comes to stroke, there are certain risk factors you simply cannot change. And I want to be very honest about that because understanding them gives you power, not fear. The first factor is age. The older we get, the more our blood vessels stiffen and the higher our chances of stroke. After the age of 65, the risk rises significantly. But here's the truth. Age is not a sentence. It is a signal. It tells us to be more watchful, more intentional with our choices. The second factor is family history. If your parents or siblings have had a stroke, your own risk may be higher. That doesn't mean your future is already written. It means your family's history is giving you a warning ahead of time, a warning you can act on. The third factor is gender. Men tend to have strokes at a slightly younger age, while women often face more severe outcomes. And women live longer, which means they spend more years at risk. Recognizing this reality is not about fear. It is about preparation. And finally, there is personal history. If you've already had a stroke or a mini stroke, your chance of having another one is higher. But knowing this gives you the chance to build stronger defenses around your health. Now, I want to pause here and talk with you, not at you. Have you ever thought about how your age or family history shapes the way you look at your health today? Maybe you've lost someone you love to stroke. Maybe you've felt that fear yourself. Please share your story in the comments. You never know whose heart you may touch or whose courage you may strengthen by opening up. This is how we heal together, by reminding each other that none of us walks this road alone. So yes, there are risks we cannot erase, but we can meet them with wisdom, vigilance, and hope. Your age, your family story, your past, they are not your enemy. They are your teachers, guiding you to protect your brain, your independence, and your future. Number 5, lifestyle choices that quietly shape your future. While there are risk factors you cannot change, there are many you can. And the truth is, your daily lifestyle quietly shapes the future of your brain more than almost anything else. Let's start with smoking. Cigarettes damage the lining of your blood vessels and make your blood more likely to clot. The American Lung Association reports that smoking doubles your risk of stroke compared to non-smokers. Quitting, even after decades, immediately begins to lower that risk. Next is alcohol. A small glass of wine with dinner may not be harmful, but heavy or frequent drinking raises blood pressure and weakens the heart. Over time, it becomes a silent partner to stroke. Then there is food. A diet high in salt, fried foods, and processed snacks drives blood pressure higher, slowly straining your blood vessels. On the other hand, meals rich in vegetables, whole grains, lean protein, and healthy fats act like daily medicine for your arteries. The choice between a bag of chips and an apple may seem small, but multiplied over months and years, it is enormous. And we cannot ignore physical activity. Too many seniors believe it is too late to exercise. But science tells a different story. The National Institute on Aging shows that even simple routines like walking for 20 minutes a day can lower stroke risk, improve balance, and restore confidence. Movement is not about running marathons. It is about preserving your independence. Here's the lesson. Your body listens to what you do every day, and it remembers. So let me ask you directly, which habit has been the hardest for you to change? Smoking? Exercise? Food? I invite you to share in the comments, not for judgment, but for connection. Because when one person speaks honestly, it often gives another the courage to take the first step. Your lifestyle is not about perfection. It's about direction. Every cigarette you don't smoke, every step you take, every healthier choice on your plate, it all adds up to protection. Remember, more than 80% of strokes can be prevented. That prevention begins not in the hospital, but in your kitchen, your living room, and your daily routines. Number 6, the role of your doctor. Why health checks save lives. One of the most powerful allies you have in preventing stroke is not a pill or a machine. It is your doctor. Regular health checks are not just routine. They are your early warning system. Let me explain why. High blood pressure is the single greatest risk factor for stroke. But here's the challenge. You often don't feel it. You can walk around with dangerously high numbers and never know. A simple blood pressure check at your doctor's office can uncover this silent danger before it harms. The same is true for cholesterol. Too much cholesterol in your blood can build plaque inside your arteries, narrowing them like rust inside a pipe. Over time, that blockage can trigger a stroke. A basic blood test reveals the problem early when lifestyle changes or medication can still protect you. And then there's diabetes. High blood sugar damages blood vessels and nerves throughout the body, including the brain. Yet many older adults don't realize they have diabetes until complications appear. A doctor's visit can catch it before those complications ever start. I recall one patient, a retired teacher, who came in for a routine checkup. She felt fine, but her heart rhythm was irregular. It turned out she had atrial fibrillation, a condition that increases stroke risk fivefold. With treatment, we protected her brain and her future. Without that visit, her story could have been very different. So let me ask you, when was the last time you had your blood pressure, cholesterol, and blood sugar checked? Be honest with yourself. Please share in the comments if you've recently had a checkup or if it's been years. Your story may inspire someone else to pick up the phone and make that appointment. Remember this, going to the doctor when you already feel sick is important, but going to the doctor when you still feel well, that is how you save your independence, your memory, and even your life. Health checks are not a burden. They are a gift. They are your chance to act before a crisis forces you to. And that small step of prevention can be the difference between living well into your 70s and 80s or living with the heavy shadow of stroke. Number 7, everyday habits that protect your brain. When it comes to protecting your brain, the small things you do every day matter more than you think. These habits may look simple, but over time they act like a shield between you and stroke. Let's begin with food. Eating balanced meals with fresh vegetables, fruits, whole grains, and lean protein gives your blood vessels strength. Reducing salt lowers your blood pressure. Staying hydrated keeps your circulation smooth. Think of every plate as a choice. You can either fuel your brain or strain it. Next is movement. You don't need to run 5 miles or lift heavy weights. Walking around the block, stretching in your living room, or practicing a simple sit-to-stand exercise from your chair can make a world of difference. The National Institute on Aging confirms that even 10 to 20 minutes of light activity a day can reduce stroke risk. Sleep is another habit we overlook. Adults who sleep fewer than 6 hours regularly are at higher risk of stroke. Good sleep is not laziness. It is medicine for your brain. Create a routine. Go to bed at the same time, keep your room cool and dark, and let your body restore itself. And don't forget stress. Constant worry raises blood pressure and strains your heart. Simple practices like deep breathing, listening to calming music, or even sitting quietly with a cup of tea can help. Peace of mind is not just comfort, it is protection. Here's a practical tip. Start small. Write down one change you can make today. Maybe it's swapping soda for water. Maybe it's walking for 10 minutes after lunch. Then add one new habit each week. Over months, these small steps add up to powerful protection for your brain. Now I'd like to hear from you. What daily habit has helped you feel healthier and stronger? Please share in the comments. Your story may be exactly what another viewer needs to stay motivated. Remember this, stroke prevention is not about drastic changes overnight. It is about steady, gentle steps forward. Each healthy choice is a promise to your future self, a promise of more independence, more clarity, and more years to share with the people you love. Number 8, common mistakes that make prevention fail. Even when people know about stroke prevention, many fall into traps that quietly undo their efforts. These mistakes are more common than you think, and I want to highlight them so you can avoid them. The first mistake is denial. Too many seniors tell themselves, I feel fine, so I must be fine. But stroke risk does not always come with pain or warning. High blood pressure, high cholesterol, and diabetes can damage your blood vessels silently for years. By the time symptoms appear, the danger is already advanced. The second mistake is relying on medication alone. Pills can be life-saving, but they are not magic. I've seen patients take their blood pressure medicine faithfully, but then smoke a pack of cigarettes a day or eat salty processed foods. Medication works best as part of a full lifestyle plan, not as a free pass to keep harmful habits. The third mistake is trusting unproven remedies instead of medical guidance. I've had patients delay treatment because they were drinking herbal teas or trying natural cures they found online. Some of these may be harmless, but others can interact with real medicine or waste precious time. When it comes to your brain, time lost is often recovery lost. And finally, the mistake of waiting. Many people experience warning signs, a brief loss of vision, a sudden headache, or a moment of slurred speech, and think, I'll rest and see if it passes. Sometimes the signs do fade, but that doesn't mean the danger is gone. It often means your brain just sent you a warning shot. Ignoring it could set you up for a devastating stroke. So let me pause here and ask you, have you ever delayed seeing a doctor because you thought the problem would simply go away? Or maybe you trusted a home remedy instead of checking your blood pressure? Please share honestly in the comments. By sharing, you might help someone else recognize their own mistake before it costs them their independence. Remember, prevention is not just about what you do right. It's also about avoiding what you do wrong. By staying alert to these common mistakes, you protect your brain, your health, and your future. Number 9, caring for the mind, the invisible shield against stroke. When most people think about stroke prevention, they picture medicine, diet, or exercise. And yes, those are essential. But there is another shield, an invisible one, that often gets overlooked: your mind. Chronic stress is one of the quietest but strongest enemies of your brain. When you live in a constant state of tension, your body produces more stress hormones, like cortisol. These hormones raise blood pressure, tighten blood vessels, and strain your heart. Over months and years, that pressure wears your system down, leaving you more vulnerable to stroke. On the other hand, nurturing mental peace is like oiling the gears of your body. Practices like deep breathing, gentle meditation, or prayer slow down your heart rate and lower your blood pressure naturally. Even something as simple as walking outside, listening to birds, or enjoying a cup of tea in silence can calm your nervous system. Community also matters. Loneliness is not just an emotion, it is a health risk. Studies reported in the Washington Post show that older adults who remain socially connected live longer and have lower risks of both stroke and dementia. A phone call with a friend, a meal with family, or joining a local club can protect your brain as much as exercise or healthy food. I remember one patient, a widower in his 70s, who was struggling with anxiety after retirement. His blood pressure was unstable despite medication. But when he joined a local gardening group, everything began to change. His stress lowered, his numbers stabilized, and his quality of life soared. Sometimes healing begins with companionship. So let me ask you, what helps you find peace in your daily life? Do you pray, walk, garden, read, or spend time with grandchildren? Share your way of finding calm in the comments. You may inspire someone else who feels trapped in stress. Remember this truth. Caring for your mind is not a luxury. It is medicine for your brain. When you protect your inner peace, you strengthen your body's defenses against stroke, and you open the door to more years of clarity, independence, and joy. Number 10. Hope beyond fear. The power of change at any age. By now you have heard the risks. You have heard the urgency, and it would be easy to feel overwhelmed, even afraid. But I want to leave you with something far stronger than fear. Hope. Here is the truth I have seen again and again in my 30 years of practice. Change is possible at any age. I have treated patients in their 60s, 70s, and even 90s who made small but steady changes and transformed their futures. One gentleman in his late 70s had suffered a mini stroke. He was frightened, but he refused to give up. He began walking 10 minutes each morning, slowly at first, then longer. He reduced the salt in his meals and made time to rest. Within a year, he was not only stronger, he was teaching his grandchildren how to fish again. Another patient, an 82-year-old woman, decided it was never too late to quit smoking. She had smoked for more than 5 decades, but with support and determination, she stopped. Her blood pressure improved, her energy returned, and she told me, "Doctor, I feel like I finally got my life back." These stories remind us that prevention is not about age, it is about attitude. Every new choice you make becomes a brick in the wall protecting your brain. Even if you've struggled in the past, tomorrow is another chance to strengthen that wall. So let me ask you, what is one change you are willing to start today? Maybe it's walking after dinner. Maybe it's calling your doctor for a checkup. Maybe it's choosing water instead of soda. Share your commitment in the comments. When you speak it out loud, you make it real, not just for yourself, but for others who are searching for courage. Remember, stroke is not inevitable. More than 80% can be prevented. Your brain is still listening to you no matter your age. And when you choose health, even in the smallest way, you are choosing more time, more independence, and more life. That is the power of change. And that power is in your hands today.